Alright, so a lot of times what I attempt to do is figure out what it is that they would want me to be posting. The little hacker groups, the little hacker harassment groups. And so basically I narrowed down Lena's friends and her brother, who I know have had a hack on my stuff for a very long time. And it seems to be that they want to prevent some sort of weird theory that they've always been pushing behind Lena's back. And yeah, it seems to be based around misrepresentations of stuff that they wouldn't understand because most of them are actually conservative. And that most of them are too stupid to realize that just because they espouse their stupid QAnon and Tea Party shit doesn't actually mean anything. And see, what I was researching about her brother, basically, is that her half brother feels entitled to the custody of our child. And that the theoretical ideas of this grandparent parental kidnapping kind of method or custodial interference method, which is basically what they're using. They're using what grandparents basically used to use, and basically what the custodial interference law was enacted because of. Because grandparents used to basically call their grandchild's parents crazy, and then they would basically avoid telling them about court cases, basically. And then all of a sudden, some CPS and family court would all of a sudden grant custody behind the scenes. Basically. And so the pedo banging method that they're using, basically, is also what they use in these satanic S&Ms and these Mormon temples use the same method. And so basically one of their main problems is that they're attempting to use an old procedure that basically got discontinued by most people based on the enactment of custodial interference. Alright? And so, and that then, the deviation from even understanding this stuff is that even if they were looking to move forward in custody or something of my kid, essentially, the only people that they would look to would be the grandparents or the full-blooded brothers. Not some half-brother. So, a lot of the reality of what his weird problem is that he uses a checklist that these Mormons have for when they do the same dumb idea in Utah. See, when I said that I was utilizing a project that I am a part of that utilizes hearing aids, see, that's the stuff that then that is the video that they would have been looking for to be justifying somebody being a schizo. Basically. And so, being that they don't actually look for context, they don't actually listen to what the person says, they just call someone a schizo without any, without any proof. And so, these people that do that stuff, they tend to get a little hopped up right when they think they got their ace in the hole or something. Okay? They get a little hopped up. That if you would have actually spent any time listening, It's kind of like, I'm 40 years old. This is like another one that they think is justifications. And you see that they live in a little insider law world that basically everybody like is clean and sober and shit. Do they know what that means? Because basically these people attempt to use what is Catholic Club rules. And Catholic Club is a pedophile, molesting, and incest world. So, if they're going to use the Catholic Club S&M rules, which is what they're like, it's what their weird justifications are. Morgan uses the same ones. And they may not realize that when you start being and using the Catholic Club rules, then it kind of seems like you're in one. See, only people in the Catholic Club ever use these justifications for child custody reasons. See, anybody else in a normal world outside of a law club insider groups, Catholic Club, see, regular judges know that a 40-year-old man, this has nothing to do with custody. And you see that they have a lack of comprehension to what it means attempting to use drinking alcohol as a reason to disqualify somebody from custody of their child. See, this is the kind of shit that in the South, this is like there's two worlds in the South. See, there's Catholic Club world, and then there's a world that breaks the rules of that shit. And then there's some judges that know about this weird Catholic Club shit that know that in the end, I'm not doing that. Basically. And that is like where they kind of know that the parents that aren't doing that are the ones that aren't afraid to drink alcohol. You see, there's cops that know that shit also. I mean, this is like where, well, I found like these nuns and they kind of had an explanation, okay? Because, when I was down in the South, I was noticing people like adhering to Catholic Club laws and stuff in the law realm. And then some of these nuns started noticing that stuff. And then they started noticing that their like adoption realm was only adopting to people that were non-alcoholic drinkers that were kosher eating. And then they were essentially espousing like conservative, like ultra alt-right conservative views. And that in ways, those nuns, they knew that they attempted to make an explanation, and it's like if they kind of were doing like a behind the scenes, like to see if they should even adopt some And that essentially those nuns were like, they're like, well, if they eat pork and if they drink alcohol, and if they smoke cigarettes and stuff, you know, obviously in like a normal kind of world, it's like, sure, nuns would prefer people to not do that. But the reality is that what their fear was adopting children to people that were adhering to the rules of the pedophile Catholic club. And that the people that drink aren't able to be in that. And that's kind of what it is. Like, they essentially, like, in ways, they viewed me as somebody to not have to worry about that pedophile kind of shit. And in lots of ways, it was because I wasn't adhering to the expectations of what the Catholic pedophile society shit is. I'm liberal. I'm not afraid of drinking an alcoholic beverage. I'm not afraid of smoking. I'm not afraid of eating pork and shit. Okay? And so that's where there's kind of two kind of theories where essentially what really outs people as being like in the Catholic club is utilizing these ideas as if it would disqualify somebody from having custody of a child. And so the Mormons, they already like, they never smoke. All their pedophiles will never eat pork. And that they essentially have like a whole world that like strictly adheres to like what the pedophile Catholic club law rules sets are. Right? And that is kind of like where, you know, those people will be like expecting parents to never cuss, to never drink, to never smoke a cigarette, to always be going weekly to a church just to be having a child. And you see that their explanations are basically that. And that's basically what outs them as being part of a pedophile law club, basically. And so this is where they may not realize it, but that people that are outside of their world, some people know that stuff. I've known that stuff for a very long time. And so the reality is the things that I'm doing in a real law, in a real court of law, do not have any bearing in any way. Just because I gotta do what you notice, I don't drink and drive anymore. But see, in their weird Catholic club shit, it's like weird all or nothing kind of shit, okay? That stuff gets noticed. And that then some sort of weird getting a DUI equals having to never drink alcohol again. That stuff means nothing. My son wasn't in the car. And nowadays, yeah, I got fucking blown, yeah. It's impossible for me to actually drive that car right now. And so, the reality is that when it comes to drinking a beer and stuff, there's not any reason at all. That's not a reason. Honestly. And so, the whole idea is that one of the reasons why I tell Lena about the wine is because She's down in the South. It's a different culture there. I mean, here's the reality. If those old clan members that go to church and stuff, if they see you drinking, well, you can drink that, it's all right. You're good, it tastes like shit. Kind of. But if they see you drinking wine or having a scotch or something like that, they won't view you as in the Catholic club. And that down there, that's like where usually the Democrats, they kind of know that down there. I mean, that's kind of what it is. See, the weird dark web down there is kind of clan-ish and also Catholic club-ish. And that the predominance, see, you can't go to the petty banks. And that then, if you got the speakers, and then you happen to be the Asian woman's, then you goes to the hippie witches' rainbows. Basically, that's like the camp. Okay? That's like where everybody else that is racist or something, they end up just going to the Klan rally that nobody does really anything bad at. But if you're not a part of that world, then essentially, if you got the dark web speakers or something, then you essentially just have to go to the hippie witches rainbow gathering, and that they don't do anything bad at theirs down there either. And see, if you're clean and koshering and shit, then essentially that places somebody in a dark web as being in the Catholic club. And then you have to go to the fucking sick fucking camp shit. When the speaker, if you have the dark web hacker speakers, yeah. And that is basically like, that's basically what it is. And so the whole idea is that it's not just the speakers, it's also the pop-up stuff where essentially you can make the pop-up stuff not ever happen by going out to the hippie, which is like barter fair. It'll be down there too. You're like a Burning Man. And then as long as you don't do anything bad at it, then essentially you won't have any of that type of stuff happening for the rest of the year. And then you probably have to go back the next year. I mean, that's kind of what it is. And so, these are like always been like, you know, at least for the last 10 years, these are kind of the solutions to all of that type of stuff. You see that usually those like lesbians and granola hippies and shit, they don't really have problems, and they do orgies and shit. Yeah, they do. And see, the reality is that up here in the Northwest, people were showing up to the hippie witches rainbow time, okay? Because they don't normally have people showing up doing satanic rituals at it, okay? They don't normally have that. So, essentially, that kind of happened up here, and these people are all kind of apprehensive of showing up to that fucking shit. But essentially, that's like where the hippie witches rainbow had all these psychopaths just show up and start doing all that fucking shit everywhere. I mean, and then up here, nobody wanted to go back. And then, since they didn't go back, they basically had to deal, if they had hacker speakers, they had to deal with the sound stuff. And then they had like orgy issues, pop-ups and stuff. They sat there around for a whole fucking year. Having people doing that stuff because, you know, that's always kind of been the dark web's way. It has. to prevent that type of shit. And so up here, I imagine there was people that were purposefully building a reason for people to not show back up, when in reality it's a very simple process. Because in ways, the clan up here, they have a rally and people were doing that shit, and then a bunch of clan members didn't show up the next year, and then they've been sitting around dealing with that shit. And that basically, that's like where every year they would never have to deal with that stuff, because they would always go to their rally, or all the hippies would go into the rainbow and shit, and everybody just knew that the dark web was expected people to go to that, and then it would prevent that stuff for the rest of the year. Okay? And so that's basically what it is. And so it's not any different in the South at all. It's not any different in the South. So, but yeah, nowadays, fucking weird, sick fucks figure out where it's gonna be, and then they show up doing that shit. And that's always been kind of a problem. But nowadays, they get like way psycho-y, It used to be that maybe there would be like an incident of some hippie chicks, like Child, having some weird fuck run out from the fucking bushes and be like trying to fuck them and shit, okay? But nowadays, they orchestrate whole horrible fucking things happening, okay? And so that's kind of like where most of people that have dark web speakers or dark web blackmails of orgies and shit, that most people are suffering from that stuff. Basically because everybody got scared off from going to the rainbow gathering. Basically. And so one of the purposes of rainbow gathering was for the dark web reasons like that. And so that is where the people that went into discouraging people from going to that was basically Mormons and E-Free and a bunch of cops and a bunch of fucking tech nerds and shit. And so they knew that it would reverberate, and that they knew that it basically makes access to the blackmails. It makes access to the tech speakers. And then, yeah, this is where most of those people are in basically what is a grouping of Catholic club and satanic S&M. Basically, those are the people that showed up to the hippie barter fair. And so, then they did stuff that caused people, they saw the most horrible things ever in their life, and it caused those people to have like a it was like a horrible, they sat there and watched a horrible nightmare unfolding right in front of their fucking eyes. And so that is where there's still people to this very day that went out to the hippie barter fair, knowing that that was the ways to do the dark web and to prevent the people from shoving your shit on your screens, and build like this resistance to people accessing the speakers and shit. But those people are still psychologically damaged from the imagery that they saw at that shit. To this very day. It would be things that haunt people for the rest of their fucking lives. But the reality is that that's the shit that everybody has always done if they're in the dark web.